Okay, welcome back to the Rock and Noel channel. Got a special guest. Um, if you watch Florida State football coverage on YouTube or social media at all, you definitely know who this is. This guy is needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. This is the guy who runs Spearatics, the website, the Twitter site, the Facebook page, you name it. And one of the things I've always respected about him, and I think one of the reasons how we get along so well is we don't really sugarcoat things and we just say it like it is. We're not really looking for to get people's approval on things. We just call it like we see it. But he was just telling me before we went on air about a real cool initiative he's a part of now. And man, please, floor is yours. Welcome, and
Yeah.
please talk about it.
So Spearatics usually does one NIL deal per year. The first one we ever did was for Rob Scott. Um, this year, and surprising for him, we're doing it for Kevin Sperry to do youth camps and stuff to that nature around the Tallahassee area and stuff like that. I started off raising 10 grand because we figured that would be enough to do what's necessary. It's down to like $580. So anybody that would be willing to donate toward it to help me get it down. My Ultimate Chiefs in the Discord have done a phenomenal job at helping me get it to that point. As a matter of fact, they're the only ones that have donated. I haven't put it out there enough. So anybody that would be willing to donate toward it, I'd appreciate it.
No, that's awesome. And I'm going to put the link in the description to donate. Um, if anybody knows Chris, they know he doesn't get behind the project unless it's going to benefit Florida State or the community or something like that. He's not looking just to give money to a player who's just going to, make an extra tackle in the game or catch a touchdown. That's just not how he That's how you come across to me, man. You're always looking just to better the community and the program, and that's awesome, man. So I asked him to come on. He's been laying low a little bit lately. He's busy on his Discord, man. So I recommend his Discord. That's where Chris knows a lot of stuff that goes on. I'm not going to ask him for it here because if you really want it from Chris, you go to his Discord. But we just wanted to talk about the season, what's coming, upcoming, some of our thoughts about it. Um, him and I have not talked at all before this show. Literally, we just talked for about a minute or two, and it was just about the cool NIL thing he's doing. Um, I saw Coach Norvell last week in Fort Lauderdale. He's on the booster tour, and I did a quick video. They designed it, in my opinion, where he would take the least amount of heat. It's like they had to do it. It was necessary evil, and it was designed so he could get in and out and not have to take any live bullets. And it was, Jeff Culhane does a great job of emceeing it, where it looks like he's, how do I say, Mike's in a good position there. You could tell he didn't want to be there. So they kept it, I think, between all of them talking, Alfred, him, and Stephen Ponder, and I know I'm missing somebody else. They started at 7:15. They were done by 8:30, and that included also pictures of Mike and everything. So I don't know where his head is at going this season. He seemed focused the other day at the media day. Who knows? What's your take on the current situation of the team? Not asking to make picks, wins, and losses because I don't like that stuff. But just what's your current opinion?
So I'm going to specifically start on Coach Norvell and the coaching staff in particular, which I think
Please.
is a big portion of this. So I will say that, I think that the coaches have to be kind of careful because they don't need to let a few of what few fans say
Right.
in their DMs or through fan mail or which way that you can reach out to the coaches or even in person when you see him at one of these booster things. So I'm going to
Right.
say I think the reason why he was closed off at the Fort Lauderdale booster event was because one didn't go so well. I'm not going to speak on which one that was. I'm
Mm.
not going to speak on what happened. But we've seen, uh, you know, Jimbo Fisher go through a situation before, like where his famous interview didn't go too well, where a guy was really calling him out, and it did real bad. And Florida State's been on a mesh since then of not letting those things happen. So
Mm. That's a good point.
I think Coach Norvell and the rest of the coaching staff is really getting a lot of heat from a good portion of the fan base. And when these gentlemen are football coaches. We see them as football coaches. We see them as winners or losers. We see them as so many different things, but we don't see them as fathers. We don't
Right.
see them as human beings, really, so to speak. They're just this spectacle that's up there that's supposed to do what we want. And I'm not trying to humanize it or take the football aspect away.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, sorry to interrupt. I'm not saying that I was going to go lay into him. I would
No,
never.
no, you're good.
Yeah.
Look, criticism, perfect. Criticize the man's job, and that's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
The issue has been we've had a few fans reach into depth on DMs or even in person. Florida State's not Miami. It's not a private university. You can walk around there all the time. You can
Right.
run into Coach Norvell very easily. And when people say certain things, he's a father first. Pot Roast, which is our defensive lines coach, Terrence Knight. We all call him Pot Roast. That man's been here for a very short period of time. These guys are receiving death threats and very wild accusations. And don't let me see you in the Publix in Tallahassee. Don't let this happen. Don't let that happen. So they're really on defense mode. The entire coaching staff is on defense mode with the fan base. And I made a statement to Coach Knighton. I said, look, man, that's a few of the fans. I understand that's the ones that stand out because that's the one that's like, hold on, man, I got kids. Don't, talk about coming to somebody's house or doing X, Y, and Z at the grocery store. But at the same time, they got to protect their family first. They're a father first. So I think that it needs to be understood that we got to give them a little bit of grace this time. They went 2-10 last year, as in Mike did, Tokars did, and Chris Thompson. Outside of that, there's not another coach that's on the
David
staff.
Johnson.
And okay, yeah, David Johnson.
Not to correct you, yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
David Johnson and Papuchis.
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot on Papuchis because they ask him to do everything, but
And his special teams was good last year.
no. But he also got pulled from it and started being asked to do something else. But anyway,
okay.
Long story short, the fan base, look, it's as simple as this. None of them are getting fired before the season starts. Mike's not going anywhere. He's our coach this year for sure, no doubt. Lay off of the threats, lay off of how bad of a coach he is, how bad of a recruiter he is. Just let this season be because it's going to be. Let's see what happens. Now, criticizing him on his recruiting abilities, criticizing him on last season, no problem. I don't mind the criticism, but they're receiving some pretty wild allegations and threats. So,
which is sickening. It's just a game at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I know they're paid a lot. I know there's a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, if Florida State losing a game does that much to you, you got bigger problems than that.
Yep. So I asked the fan base, we do have a good portion of our fan base that's still behind Mike, that look at last year as a fluke season. Injuries played a big part. Wrong portal guys, all kinds of stuff. But we got to see what he can do. He wants to keep his job here. I can tell people that. I can tell you that he doesn't want to go anywhere. After you lose a job at Florida State, you might end up somewhere back where he really started, like Tulsa, and that's not something that he wants to do. He's looking to move up in his career like everybody. So I think that Coach Norvell is going to give us everything that he possibly can. I think that our fan base is responsible for giving to NIL. I think our fan base is responsible for being there and putting their asses in the seats. And if the product is no good, then the coach has to answer for it, and answering for it by this will be the last year if he has a bad year. I can promise you that. He won't get another year.
I'm at the point now, I'm going to ride with him. I might be critical, and it's only about recruiting. It's only about how I think he's gone about the staff in some ways. It's just X's and O's and administrative stuff. I think as a person, I don't know how you can dislike the guy. He's a wonderful human being. The fact that we won with a guy like him, it was a bonus to have a guy who was such a good personality and good person.
Agreed.
We really hadn't seen that since Bowden. As much as we liked that Jimbo won, wasn't the best human being in the world.
No.
In a lot of ways.
Me and Jimbo didn't get along at all.
Yeah. He was okay with me, and it was always quick talks. The joke was he was nicer to a random person at Publix than to anyone who worked there or was a media member for whatever reason. But we accepted that with Jimbo. With Mike, we knew, man, this is a good dude. This is the type of guy that like a player can call at 3 a.m. or a person, he's there right away. And I've always liked that about him. And he was nice at the event the other night. I talked to him for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, and you could tell like last season wore him down. Understandably so. Like he seems rejuvenated, but it was like after the picture, he just shook my hand, and I can't thank you enough for the support. What more? Not more enough I need to say. Like, thank you. Let's get it fixed. You don't want to have to search for a new head coach. You'll do it if you have to. It's not what you want. That's why we were so happy when he didn't go to Alabama. I just think as a fan base, we're more upset about 2-10 than we were happy about 13-0.
Yeah. I mean, losing is always harder than winning.
Right.
And you never celebrate winning near as much as you hate losing.
Correct.
So
especially this fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, so Twitter's what, 1% of the fan base, maybe 2%,
maybe.
But we're known for it. Unfortunately, I didn't know that about. It's funny about Knighton. He wasn't even here last year.
No.
So I don't. We're lucky to have that guy.
Well, I like what Clay Fink did at 247. Clay Fink put out how Coach Han, the offensive line coach, compares to the offensive line coaches across the country. Mm-hmm. And specifically, Florida's offensive line coach and Miami's offensive line coach, the big three first. I think Coach Han's the only one with 2 Super Bowl champions. Coach Han's the only one with X amount of All-Americans. Coach Han's the only one with X, Y, and Z. Now, Coach Mirabal at Miami's got like 3 Pro Bowlers, but what's being a Pro Bowler now compared to what it actually used to be? So no NFL, no national champions, no hell, not even any conference champions. But it is what it is.
No, but also he's really just the right-hand guy for Mario, if you think about it. I'm not saying he doesn't know ball. Mario's running the offensive line.
True.
That's like saying Damian Craig developed Jameis Winston. It was Jimbo. I mean, that's what it really is. He's like the Damian Craig on that staff.
Yeah.
He just gets a lot more credit than because he's been a right-hand guy for Mario all those years. But hasn't Herb had like 18 guys drafted or 18 or 20?
Yep.
Some big number like that? No,
yep.
I don't hate the Gus move. I like the Herb Hand move because I want Gus to have his guy. Yeah, he's comfortable with. The guy who I'm most impressed with, and I could end up being wrong, Tony White.
Yeah.
I think we got lucky with that guy.
Well, I will second that. I think Tony White is definitely the home run hire out of the group.
Yeah. I mean, most people didn't even think he'd be on the board.
No, I can tell you that I didn't. And then when I finally heard from Alfred that we were actually interviewing him, I was like, wait, like, really? And he was like, yes. He's our first pick. He's our first guy. See, I made this clear to the Discord. We had a lot of people confused, like, no, we kept hearing the guy from ULV was going to be our offensive coordinator, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. And the truth of the matter was that Florida State, Mike Norvell and Mike Alford reached out to Gus Malzahn first, from what I've been told. And Gus didn't know that he was going to step down yet. He was like, I don't know if I'm going to step down. I don't know if that's what I'm doing yet. So they moved on. They can't wait forever. So they moved on and started talking to UNLV's offensive coordinator or head coach, whatever he was. Then this one, that. And then Gus called back and said, hey, I am stepping down. I would like to take the position. So it went all the way back to Gus. And so all these interviews you did with defensive line coaches, offensive line coaches, coordinators didn't really matter because now Gus is going to want his guys, especially offensively. Mike pushed real hard to keep Tony Tokarts for whatever reason. My biggest pet peeve is keeping
that was an issue
Tony Tokarts and keeping Derek Ray as the general manager. I don't agree with either one of those moves, but
I didn't with David Johnson until we landed Chroma.
Yeah.
Then I shut my mouth on that one because when we lost, was Byron Lewis the running back?
Yep.
I was done with Johnson. But you landed on one running back. I don't care how you got it. I'll take it. So that's why I kept my mouth shut. I was shocked about Tokar's and the rumors I heard, and I'm not speaking something you told me, but his family was telling people he was done there.
Yeah, his very close family was telling everybody.
Yeah,
he's done. He's looking for a job. Blah 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 blah. for whatever reason, Mike held on to him.
And Derek Ray was at the event too last week. And they made sure, I don't know, they made sure or he did it on purpose. He usually works the room. Like I've been to a couple events, he works the room, smoozes, he's a good talker. He was in the back away from everything. So I don't know what his role was there, but they didn't want him interacting with just working the room.
Yeah. Well, it's based off of, you come off of a 13-0 season, working the room is acceptable. You come off of a 2-10 season, we don't want to hear anything you got to say. We want to see what you can do. And I think that Mike Alford understands that more than anybody. And Alford's whether people want to believe me or not, who I care about keeping is not one of the coaches, not one of the staff members, all the way down. The only person I want kept is Michael Alford.
Really?
Michael will make the hard decision if it's necessary. So let's say Mike goes 6-6 this year.
Right.
Michael Alford's not going to keep him. I will put everything I got on it in the house.
What if that affects his status? Because a lot of people think in the media world, they've said if Norvell's fired, you've heard it, Norvell's fired, they'll be looking for new AD too.
Nope.
I mean, they just re-signed him, so I'd be surprised.
They're not gonna. So Alford. Here's the thing. Here's the question. I want people to do the research. Did Michael Alford hire Mike Norvell?
No.
So you're gonna fire a guy or a coach that he didn't even hire? He's trying to make work with what he was given.
But he gave him the extension.
He gave him the extension because the head of the university said give him the extension.
And the board of trustees too.
So when you've got everybody telling you what
we can't lose into Alabama because we're in a lawsuit. I'm not correct. Yeah.
How wild is it, Jeremy, that you go from God, we're going to lose our coach to Alabama to we want this guy gone within one season. It never happened. One season.
Yeah.
Florida State loves making history. Here lately, it's been for the wrong reason, but we have done a lot of making history in the good reasons. So
yeah.
I think, Mike is a winner at heart. Mike doesn't. Here's the question that I have for Norvell. And I've asked him this in person. I've asked him this over social media. I've asked him questions. But will you win at all cost? Will you go that extra that other coaches are willing to do? Now, whether that is not always looked at as the right move or looked at as the most moral avenue. Because I can tell y'all this, in my opinion, Mike's biggest problem is he's too honest. He's too nice.
Too nice.
He doesn't break the rules. Like, if people want to know why Atkins is truly gone, it's because he broke a rule. I don't know if Mike would have fired him if he didn't break that rule.
He has a history of just not firing people.
He's got a.
I don't even count this year. Like, he was forced to. And he only fired the ones he had to. That's why people say to me, do you think, Mike cleaned house? I'm like, he really didn't. He got rid of the OC in DC that he had no choice about and a receivers coach that, even though he's legacy and he's a friend of mine, so I'm going to be careful how I say it, he had no choice to either.
I really would have thought the ones that you had no choice on would have been Tokars and Derek Ray. That's who I thought. Hey, man, those are the first ones that got to get cut. But then, Randy Shannon also getting fired later.
Right.
I was told, and I don't know, a lot of people say a lot of things. I only trust who I talk to. So somebody would have to tell me who told them this off air and all that stuff for me to take into consideration. But I was told that Mike Norvell was the reason that Randy Shannon got fired, not the other way around. They weren't forcing him to get rid of Randy.
Well, that wasn't a Tony White thing?
No. So from what I understood is that Randy started, after they got rid of Fuller, and Randy started kind of taking in the role of being the interim defensive coordinator, Mike didn't like what he was doing to the defense, like the conversation that was happening and maybe his coaching style. I don't know. But Mike Norvell supposedly is the one that pulled the trigger on Randy's got to go. I will get someone better, which, to me, how I thought about Randy, how you could do worse. But when I heard that Tony was the guy that Florida State was literally going to get, I was on cloud nine and was like, until I see this sign, like he's here,
Right.
BS. And the guy that told me was right from the get. Like he said, no, man, we're going to hire Tony White. We're going to hire Tony White. I was like, dude, there ain't no damn way. Like, not
Right.
what we did what we did. Why is he leaving Nebraska to come to us when Nebraska's kind of on the up? They didn't lose their players yet, of course, and their NIL didn't plummet yet. But for whatever
I guess the one rumor is that he didn't get along with Matt Rule.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
And Matt Rule really demoted him during the season. But Nebraska could have doubled the salary if they really wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
But their people on YouTube, they were doing 8-10 hour live streams after he left. They took it hard.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is. You think it was close to Nebraska? You used to losing a coach. We would deal with it. I couldn't imagine you going on Spearatics for 8 hours if we lost at DC. For whatever reason.
I didn't even consecutively think about Bobby getting fired for 8 hours straight.
No.
And I love Bobby to death.
Oh yeah.
But it is what it is. Like, this is a business. Like, and that's what I keep telling people. Yes, collision sports, but this is semi-pro ball now, man. Like, we got to quit throwing. We got to stop this. Like, this is a business. If you're not winning, and whether that's you're not playing well enough, not coaching well enough, not being a good enough athletic director, not being good enough for the president of the university, whatever reason, you are replaceable. And we got to live with it. So I don't care who they are. I want to win. And that's the name of this game. It has been since before this, but now it really is. People are putting up millions of dollars.
Right. So I've noticed that. Well, the guy I'm upset about, and I know nothing would happen, and I have reasons for this. Trust me. I don't just, me, I don't just say things to say it. Josh Storms. I just think he's in that position with Mike where he's untouchable because he's been with him every stop. He's just guy. And I remember when the media asked about Josh Storms, he gave him a look like, how dare you ask about him? But I think if he was the type of guy that was coaching a CrossFit team to be in shape and compete there, he'd be the best in the world at that. But I understand how football's a dangerous sport, a collision sport, and injuries happen. But I'm watching our guys get injured at such a higher clip. I watched last year where we got tackled and they got hurt every time, it seemed like. But the worst part with me is I'm watching our linemen cannot stay healthy with him. It's a different type of strength and conditioning to keep those guys healthier. I understand it's a tough position and there's attrition. I watch other schools. I don't see that type of injuries. So that's something I'm concerned about going into the year, saying I don't think our line's going to stay healthy.
Well,
we're not deep.
I will say this. I do like the fact that Josh went out and got, and I wished I could name their names off the top of my head, but he went and got 2 strength and conditioning guys that he hired. And the third guy's a really good friend of mine. Now, he hasn't been hired yet. But these 2 gentlemen that he did hire, this is all they've ever done. Linemen. It's the only strength and conditioning they do. They don't help with the wide receivers. They don't help with the DBs. They don't help with the linebackers. They don't help with quarterbacks and running backs, tight ends. They don't do that. They specifically focus on the big men. He hired 2 of them, and he only really needed 1. But he said, no, we've got enough money in the budget. Coach Norvell said this, so we're going to get 1 for offensive line, 1 for defensive line. And they're paying these guys for strength and conditioning assistants. They're paying them a lot of money. So
and in Tallahassee, that goes a long way.
That goes a long ways. So I think I'm not going to say that we're not going to get injured.
No, and me neither.
But I think strength and conditioning plays a part in it.
Right.
The bigger part is in technique with me. And I felt like the reason we were injured so much last year is the lack of coaching that our offensive linemen got, the lack of coaching our defensive line got, the lack of coaching that our running backs were getting, and definitely the lack of coaching that our wide receivers were getting, because their techniques were horrible. All season, I was watching guys place their hands incorrectly, take the wrong first foot back wrong. Everything was off. And Atkins was to blame for it because Atkins was focused on going to court because of his NCAA thing when he was fighting it. And they had whomever the guy is that stepped up for him. I don't know who that is. He's never coached an offensive line a day in his life. So that bothered me. But yeah, well, our offensive line came out sluggish. Our defensive line came out sluggish. And I love Odell Higgins to death.
Yeah.
But that's why he was moved.
Yeah.
Like Mike saw the writing on the wall, or whether that be Mike Alford or Mike Norvell.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, this didn't work this year, this didn't work this year, and this didn't work this year. Fix it. Or I'll fix all of it and get rid of all of you.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was put. Like, if you won't revamp what was wrong with this staff, we'll revamp the entire staff. That includes you, sir. And
that was on the table?
That was on the table. Look, people don't talk about this enough.
You're the only one.
And I don't know if Alford wants people talking about this. And luckily, I'm not big enough for it to get on ESPN or anything. But the moment that they thought, because Mike Alford did not know if Mike Norvell was going to take the Alabama job. And Mike Alford wasn't going to wait to find out.
Right.
Mike started calling coaches. Not only was it the first coach that Mike Alford called, but this coach said word for word, I will run across broken glass to be a coach in the state of Florida, whichever big three that is. And if it's you and you're telling me you're going to hire me if Mike leaves, consider it yes.
Yeah.
Here's your answer. That coach is at Ole Miss.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all take that for what you want, but it's the honest God's truth.
No, it's true. I heard they had the jet ready to go that Friday.
They had the jet ready to go right then.
I heard that they were going to Oxford together.
Yep.
I heard DeBoer was on. I don't know if DeBoer would have left Washington to come to us.
No.
But I heard that the jet was ready to go. They had the yes. I mean, there's only about 2 or 3 people. I mean, ESPN finally let the cat out of the bag on that one.
Okay, they did.
They did an article, I guess, to smooth things over after the snub. Didn't really matter to me, but it was just basically talking about how big a decision it was that Mike stayed and how close he was to going to Bama, and he really could have had that job. I actually watched. It's funny you talk about it. I watched it was an Alabama football special, and they did a whole day of when Saban left and the process that they went through to get a new coach. And he went to Seattle to interview DeBoer.
Yep.
This is the AD. I'm sure you know this.
Yep.
And he said to DeBoer, "You're on my short list. I have to talk to one more guy. Will you wait?" We know who that one guy was.
Yep. And it's because Mike wouldn't answer the phone Thursday.
Really?
He wouldn't answer the phone Wednesday either. Mike didn't call him back until Friday, and it wasn't even Mike that called him back. It was Jimmy Sexton that called him and said, "No, he's staying."
Well, because I know he talked to Saban, I think.
Yeah, Mike did.
A lot of the interviews are done to the agents. I don't know how much is done.
Mike talked to him. So what it is ex-coach leaving, especially when it's Nick Saban. Right. Nick's like the guy that's telling you, "Hey, for real, they're going to call you."
Oh, okay.
So it's just like a coach-to-coach like courtesy, like, "Hey."
And same agent. We're buddies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sexton's their agent. So, yeah, hey, Sexton was like, "Hey, man, call my guy and let him know it's real. So when I press Florida State for more money, he knows it's not, hollow." Like, it gives him the comfort because that's what Sexton did. That's his job. The man did his job. So, yeah, but Mike was the first choice for Alabama. As many people that don't want to believe it, he was the first choice. Was he the first interview? No. But he was meant to be. He just didn't answer the phone purposely now. Mike knew who was calling him, and he didn't take it. So Mike's like, "Well, what's Florida State going to do?" And they did enough. And then we went 2-10 the next season.
I know. I mean, you can't script this, man.
Nope.
I mean, I was there in Ireland. I was there, but I don't think he forgot how to coach me. I was upset about things, and I just question. I don't, and I could be wrong. And like you said, we can talk recruiting, and I'm not talking players. I don't think he prioritizes it in the right way. And I understand with NIL now, it's not always a case of relationships. It's just dollars. I don't care what Miami says about Cantwell. We gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. And he gets to play for a guy who coached our line. But yeah, I mean, the Cam Brooks thing, if it's what I heard is true, that the kid really wants to come to Florida State or heavily interested, and we didn't put in the effort to go to a kid 30 minutes away, that's unacceptable. And that's what I'm like.
To fan base. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Cam Brooks is a great football player. I think he's going to be a great collegiate player. But I will say this. Our coaching staff has their reasons why they didn't go 30 minutes down the road. It's the easiest pickup.
Yeah.
They know he wants to be here. They know that they have first dibs. Why didn't they go? It's not because they're just like, no, we can get him at any time. I will go later. No, there's a reason they don't want him. That's just as simple as it is. And we as a fan base get mad because it's not who, like, we want him. He's a this, he's a that.
Right. See, Jimbo would take a kid sometimes he didn't love.
Yeah.
If it knew that, all right, like Thomasville Central, the next 3 or 4 years, I hear is loaded. All right, man, I'll take this one kid to get the next 5, 6 guys I really want.
Yep.
Mike doesn't do that.
Nope. And Mike, look, I've told people this. If you can get a top 10 portal class and a top 15 high school class, or a top 10 high school class and a top 5 portal class, you can win that year.
Yeah. Especially him who has to win immediately.
Mike focuses more on getting the guys out of the portal for a multitude of reasons. I'm going to say this. High school kids, they're coming out. They have not taken a collegiate snap yet. Ketwell, for instance, or whatever you say his name.
Yeah.
That kid, I don't care who his daddy is, what he's done in high school. I don't care. You are not worth $2 million day one. Look, I'm going to tell you how it works. You're guaranteed 2.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you do, get injured, what happens?
Red shirt.
Guaranteed 2. And I'm going to tell you all this other part of this. Because the NCAA has lost so many lawsuits, they're not jumping on schools for this. But there are contracts that are in the collegiate sports right now, especially in college football, that are giving guys bonuses, that are promising guys X amount of money if they do X, Y, and Z on the field. The only one rule that NIL has, no pay for play.
Right.
And they're paying for play. It's
every rule has been broken.
Every rule's been broken.
Yeah, it's that's why when they talk about the house settlement and things will get better, once you've opened Pandora's box, good luck closing it. One thing I've heard is, and you would know more about this than me, is they're talking about bringing in the group that the NFL uses.
Yep.
That what do they analyze the deals to make sure they're actually legit.
Yep.
So you can't say this is a $5,000 deal, but we're going to give you 50 under the table that you don't know about, and they have to actually do what the NIL, like right now, I could call from my house, give $100,000 to a player, not that I would, and say it's for my YouTube channel. He does nothing, but I can give him the cash.
Yep.
Where they're saying now it has to be legit.
Yeah. So what the idea behind this is, and I'll make it short. The idea behind this is they pushed the sport in the NFL in the 90s. If you were a MPA, which is you were paying your player dues and all that stuff, that you had to have a bank account that this group could oversee to make sure you wasn't getting or making bets and yada yada. What happened with Pete Rose and MLB and stuff to that nature. Now that became a little bit of communism there, so they had to take that away. But what they've done is given access to that group to make sure that guys aren't getting non-legitimate deals. They're talking about doing the same thing with collegiate sports. And I don't know how that's going to work because they're not considered employees of anything. They're not paying dues. I don't know how that's going to work.
And how do you oversee 112 schools?
It's AI now. Like their idea is to use this AI system that SoFi uses, a banking system, big bank that uses it. But I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, a lot of this stuff is, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Who knows what's going to happen? But the NCAA would have to fork over, or each university would have to fork over a good portion of money to keep that system running. And I don't know that universities are going to agree to that.
No, and TV's not going to help pay that.
No, not at all.
So
It's all.
Once you've created this mess, how do you stop it? I mean, there was always a mess even before NIL. It was just 3 or 4 schools that did it really well.
Yep.
That's why those were the only coaches that complained when this whole thing started.
Yep.
Jimbo, Kirby, and Saban.
Yep. And if Urban was there, he would have.
Oh, for sure. That's why when he made that comment the other day about Nico, did you see that?
Yes, I did.
I mean, that was NIL all over it.
Yep.
Basically saying you should have paid that kid whatever you want because you got to play Florida.
I mean, look, I think Florida State has just got to get dirty, man. Like, it's the truth. I've talked to the high-end boosters. I've talked to a lot of people. I'm like, look, man, all the other schools, and I mean all of them now, there's very, very few, if any, that are not playing dirt. And Florida State's not, though. I will give it to them. They will not do it dirty, and they got to. Like, you are not going to recruit top 10 high school classes until you start, man. You got to play dirty. And I don't know if Mike's the guy. Like, so here's my question. I think Mike can win if he gets talent. My question is can Mike play dirty to get talent? I don't know.
That's not his. Yeah, I mean, he reiterated last week, we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it the right way. His thing at the end was, I think he does read the stuff on social media.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say it, but he said something at the end. I ended up deleting a tweet after it. Not that he read it. But he said at the end, his last words were, hey, speak about us in I forgot the exact words he used, but he basically said, speak about us positively. He said, we're going to get it right. We're going to get it fixed. But I think he was saying, like, cut that nonsense out. It's not going to help us get better. But that made me say, I didn't phrase it right, but basically he said, like, he sees what's on social media.
Yeah, he knows. So, like, I'll put it like this. So they do the best they possibly can to get the young men, the players, not to see what's being said.
Right.
And the coaches do that by monitoring what's being said. So they know how to accept it if one of the kids see it. They know how to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like what Coach Norvell is, his biggest thing is to stay ahead of the curve. And that's in everything in life, not just football. But there's a reason why 247 on 3 rivals, which now rivals and on 3 are the same, and other media groups don't have the access that they had at Florida State. It's because of the stories that were being dropped about Florida State before they were bad.
I was going to bring that up. I'm glad you did.
And now Mike's like, look, man, I can't get y'all to respect the process of what we have to do. I can't get you to respect that we don't want BS talked about us. Florida State media makes their bread and butter off of Hallmark stories. They honestly do. Their articles, what they come on YouTube and X and all these things as far as their podcasts go, they want you to be captivated on the drama of what potentially could be. Yeah. And I'm not talking about every member of those media groups, but when the majority is doing it, Mike and the rest of the people got to go, look, we got to cut this shit. No. Like Mike gave little guys like myself and others way more access than we've ever had. And that's the year he took access away from the big guys.
Because, you were the only one that said that, and I had a feeling, but you said it made me feel better. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, you're good.
You said it's not canceled media access. There's going to be people there. Like the 247s and the War Chance of the World made it out to be like it's. You think if an ESPN reporter doesn't want to come check out practice,
they'll be in practice.
They'll be in practice, or a major store, or you, or James, or somebody. I'm just throwing names out there.
None of us have had a problem walking in.
Yeah.
Watching the entire practice.
Myself, recruits aren't there, and coaches. I mean, of course, it's business as usual. Just the beat writers had to be told. Because one of them, I mean, I'm not going to say other names, but one of them did say we did get away from what we were there to do.
Yep.
Where the rest were like, oh, we don't care. They did. I think the media's ego grew a lot under
money grows greed.
Money grows greed and power. They had a lot of power because they would watch practice every day. I didn't see it that way. I never liked it. And I would tell anybody that. I didn't like that. You shouldn't be there. There's a reason why every other school doesn't do it.
The whole reason I started covering our school, I was tired of I don't like Hallmark. Like, if I wanted to watch Hallmark and Lifetime, I'd sit beside my wife every Wednesday and Thursday. I don't care for that.
Same
I
here.
don't want to hear it.
I almost don't want to know what's going on during the week.
Yeah.
When I what? Yeah, if it's an injury or something, I want an update there. People forget Mike gave as much or more interviews after practices this spring than all previous ones.
Yep.
I don't count the COVID one, obviously, but he is as transparent as ever. The whole issue before with Jimbo was never the canceling of media there. It was he didn't really like to speak.
Mm-mm.
You would get maybe one press conference a week and maybe once after practice. And none of his coaches could speak. Where all these coaches are talking, you're having full access to me still. You're just not watching, and they shouldn't be there for that.
Mm-mm.
Mike doesn't go to your meetings for the media and sit in and say, not that you wouldn't invite him, but you know what I mean. It's like a closed door meeting, the practice. I'm sure. I mean, they're pissed at Gus, the local media.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure he played a big role because he's never allowed. UCF, he never allowed it. So I said, there's no way Gus would agree to come here if he had 10 reporters there. And then I'm hearing stories about how, I'm sure you can attest to all this. Like, they would show a clip of a player catching a pass who really wasn't in the plans for that year, but that goes on Twitter so that agents call Mike. Oh, we're going to need a raise, $200,000, $300,000. And he doesn't need to spend that much time on the phone with agents, which never would have happened if they weren't there.
Yep.
So I never liked it. I knew too much. I didn't like it. I think the Georgia Tech game, I said, why do I know all this stuff?
Yep.
So I'm glad he got rid of the media access, and I would tell anybody that we don't need to know that stuff.
No, it's weaponizing the NIL groups. It's weaponizing agents, and it's unfortunate that that's what this has came to. But there's a reason we don't have a spring game this year. People think it's because Doak's not done. Okay, so why didn't 19 or 20 other major teams not have a spring game this year then?
Yeah. And Doak wasn't available in 2016. We moved it to Orlando.
We would have moved it if we wanted the spring game.
If Jacksonville wanted it, if we wanted to go to Jacksonville or Orlando or Tampa, trust me.
It was easy. Yeah. I mean,
they could have had one if they wanted. They could have had FAMU if they really wanted a stadium. It wasn't a location thing. It was
offered by every one of the ones you just spoke of. Hey, if y'all need somewhere to play your spring game, FAMU was the first one that called them.
Oh, really?
Hey, man, y'all can come over here.
Yeah, James Colsey played at Florida State. He'd love to have him. Charlie Ward's there now. It's going to have a great relationship. I love that. Yeah, so we could have had a spring game. We could have gone to Gene Cox if they had to. They did in 95 or something, 96. For the amount of people that come to a spring game, you could do it there.
Yep. And
they didn't want tape getting out to Alabama.
No, they don't want. There's a multitude of reasons. And I was saying
one of my reasons, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the biggest reasons why. The second portion of that is there's a Mike gets either 2 extra practices or a spring game.
Mm-hmm.
Mike said, "Let me get the practices. I got X amount of new people. I got an entire new offensive line, except for 2 freshman returners. I've got a brand new coach at every major position, just about, has been coordinators. Trying to mesh together my type of offense with Gus's type of offense. Let's make it a little bit more pass heavy than what Gus does. And that's the reason why we're having a hard time getting wide receivers outside of I don't like the wide receivers coach. I don't like him personally. I don't know him personally, but I don't like his recruiting ability. I don't like how he recruits. But outside of that, no wide receiver wants to come play for Gus yet, because all the wide receivers are like, well, I'm basically
a run blocker.
Cardio in.
Yeah.
The ball doesn't come to the wide receivers but once every 12 plays. I'm not doing that. And there's 5 of us on the field at the time that happens. So Gus that's why I think that Florida State's going to get a big opportunity to flip wide receivers when it comes December before signing day, because they're going to see that Florida State's utilizing wide receivers, because he's got Elijah Moore, he's got Wayne McCoy, he's got Gibbs, he's got all these guys that are still high end that stayed, that didn't leave. Yeah. And, I think once people see how Gus utilizes the wide receivers, it's going to flip the switch on, hey, wait a minute. Them dudes might actually need wide receivers. They're like, I might want to go do that. And then when it comes to running backs, I personally think the reason Chroma came is because Mike told him the plan. Now, Mike didn't promise him that so-and-so was coming, but Mike told him this is the plan.
Oh, okay.
And Crum was like, all right, bet. If that's what we're doing, and it's the run-heavy guy, look, I don't care what y'all do this year, 2, 10, 1, and no, I don't care. I'm going to come. So that helped. But I think Mike doesn't get enough credit for, like, he closed Chroma. I mean, I don't want to talk about.
He'd been on him since what, the 6th grade or something?
Yep.
Wow.
So Mike's the one that got him.
Yeah.
Mike's also the one that talked. Like, Gus said he wanted Castellanos because he already knew what he wanted to do. Now, Castellanos had a specific offense of change that if he would have stayed at UCF, that would have been implemented at UCF. Believe it or not, Gus thinks that would have saved his job if TC would have been ready then. Okay, so TC's abilities, which I will say this, I was not a fan of getting him. I was like, why are we getting this short quarterback? Why are we getting like blah, blah, blah? But after seeing him this spring, I'm like, that's the dude. That's our guy.
Okay.
Like, and I'm not saying that lightly. Like I'm being very critical of the team this year, way more so than I was last year. We came off of a 13-1 season, everybody, and when I got told by a coach, we look good, we're the strongest, the fastest. This, like, damn, like if we're gonna say that after we just went 13-1, we must have a bad group of guys.
Yeah, I heard we're faster, we're
stronger.
Receiving core is what Mike has never had at Florida State. All these deep threats. We haven't had a quarterback with an arm like DJ.
Yeah,
I mean, I fell for it all.
I did too.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, last year I didn't get to go as much as the year before in 22. Mm-hmm. I didn't get to go the year after, like the year before that. Mm-hmm. But last year I went twice. I went to 2 practices and 1 scrimmage, so 3 times. No, that's right. 1 practice, 2nd practice, the scrimmage the same day. So I watched 2 practices and a scrimmage. Well, when healthy, and also when bad on bad looks good, because we were just bad on both sides, but we looked competitive because on both sides we were bad. That was the problem. I didn't see that problem because I got a very short glimpse of it. So I had coaches telling me this is the strongest, the fastest, this, that, and the other. Right. And I'm like, okay, shit. All right, I'm good then. So I'll go and tell people, hey, man, and I always made sure I said this. Coaches said this is the strongest, the fastest, the most athletic, the this, the that. We probably going 13-0 again is what it looks like. Hell, I don't know.
I mean, Mike doubled down on it 2 or 3 times also.
Yep.
Going into the year.
Then Nick Saban didn't help us. When he goes and sees the team in Ireland and says they've got an NFL squad, they've got.
I never bought into that. Guy was at practice for maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Maybe. And he said this.
So what's he going to say? Oh, man, it don't look good. He was just trying to be nice. He's cool with Mike because of his relationship with Sexton.
Yep.
The Sexton guys really stick together. I mean, they're all Sexton guys, but I mean, they work in like a fraternity.
Yep.
So when that happened, that meant nothing to me. The media used that as an excuse. Well, Nick Saban said that. You guys were at practice every day. Nick Saban was there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, if that, just to get a look at them before he went on game day for the first time.
All I know is, man,
and I'm sure Sexton told him, yo, don't badmouth.
Yep. And the biggest part, is it's not Nick Saban's job to tell us whether we have a good team or not. That's what I kept saying. But I owned up to my part. I was like, look, man, I'm not going to make excuses. Like, I haven't said what I just said about only seeing 2 practices and 1 scrimmage last year till right now. I haven't said that to anybody else, even in the Discord. I took accountability. I was like, look, I said that we looked good. I said we looked good. I was wrong. Like,
everybody said that.
Like, it was everywhere. Like, everybody had me bought in before I even got to see anything. And then when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, we don't look terrible. We don't look like as amazing.
We were designed for workouts and practice last year. Game started, it was a wrap.
Yep.
EJ Manuel was telling people the day before the Ireland game. He was at the practice that is close to everybody.
Yep. And
he said, man, they look laser sharp.
I will say this, week to week, we looked so good in practice. And we would get to a game, and I would like watch guys forget everything that they did.
Yeah. Our game day coaching was
Lack of
horrible.
coaching, though. That's a lack of position
Yeah.
coaching. And guys would get on the field, the lights. I was like, I've never seen so many star bright guys in my life. When the lights come on, they freeze. Our entire team last year, including Mo, who had been a good center for us, undersized maybe, but Mo even was messing up nonstop. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. And I'm watching Darius Washington, another 6-year guy, who's, I'm not saying he's the best lineman ever. Mike hyped him up more than he should have. But regardless, his stance, like he talked about, everything, Mo and his snaps, Mo knows a snap count. He's been there as long as that. So you just saw on game day, nothing was communicated well to them or translated.
It was like watching one of the most beautiful paintings come unraveled on you.
Yeah.
Or get, I don't know, spilt something on. I don't know what to say because I'm not an art person, but every time we made a mistake, because when other people, when I don't want to call people casual fans, but people that aren't as in depth with technique, they're not as in depth with the play of the game. I don't watch the football game for just the score of the big plays. I literally, even on the snaps we don't do well on, I want to know why we didn't do well on that snap. And usually it's because there was a break in the offensive line, terrible technique from the guard, center busted the count, but we fumbled the ball or bobbled the ball, not even fumbled it, bobbled the ball, quarterback. Whatever the reason is, I'm watching this game almost in slow motion because I don't like not knowing why we didn't do well on this play. Not the game, just that play. And like me and James would go to the game, we're on the sideline, we're recording everything. And we would take those clips back, and I'm talking about watch them, and watch them, and watch them. So we watch the game differently because of playing it, and I want to know why we're not doing what we're supposed to. And I had conversations with Rob. I had conversations with Mo. I had conversations with Darius. Like, man, what's going on? Like, what happened? Oh, I don't know, man. Like, every time we get out there, this happens, and we start forgetting this or forgetting that. He's like, Coach so-and-so, like, really didn't push this in, installs. He didn't do this. And he goes, like, I'm not trying to blame nobody, but we got coached different this year. And it's showing.
Absolutely.
And I was like, damn. So then when everyone was like, hey, man, these coaches got to go, because what it is they got winner's remorse. They won 13 games, and they got to the peak, right? They didn't win a national championship, but they did so well. Everybody was hyping up Florida State, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They forgot that you got to continue to grind. The grind continues tomorrow. The day after the bowl game's over, the day after, you got to go straight into recruiting. You got to be there at 7:30 in the morning. You've got to keep this thing
it becomes even harder.
You got to do it even harder.
Yeah. It's easier to deal with failure than success.
Yes. And our entire staff dropped the ball because they had a little bit of they had a breather. Mm-hmm. And it was like, all right, man, we're that, we're this. Yeah. The kids are going to come pouring in. We ain't got to go nowhere and get nobody. We ain't got to talk that same game. And then Mike is the truly one at the fault for it because he didn't implement to make sure his guys knew it was time to grind. That's where Mike still holds accountability.
Yeah, I was telling someone today, I said, I think we just, I don't want to say got complacent after the snub. I mean, we did in some ways, but I think that should have fueled your fire to say, never again. We're going to give them a reason to make them regret this. And it was the opposite. We felt sorry for ourselves as a staff, as players, as everything. And I don't think as a fan base, we really took into account with the snubs with 10 months. What was it? 8 months later, whatever.
Yep.
We didn't take into account, is there still a hangover from it? We figured we're over it. So are they. And they weren't. I mean, I heard from everything. It was not just, that was the whole Moore Athletic Center was just in shambles after that.
It was.
We're going to hear more down the line, I think.
Yeah, we will.
Since Mike's still there, they're not going to talk about it. But that would have had me, like, Nick Saban can win a national title, and 2 days later, he's on the road recruiting.
Every time.
He doesn't like to celebrate it. Now, he's not the norm, I understand. But I never got the sense that, man, Mike was just so pissed off he was going to make people regret that.
I thought he would.
Yeah.
But Mike's a different character, man. He's like, I think Mike can win. I do.
Yeah.
The thing is it's got to be understood at Florida State. The standard at Florida State
Yeah.
is we have to be that competitive year in and year out. I can't go, we're 13-0 one year and 2-10 the next. Like, this fan base won't accept that shit.
Yeah.
It's just, that's not acceptable.
Said
You
that
at
the
bare
other night.
minimum, yeah, you at bare
Not in
minimum,
those words, but yeah.
yeah,
we talked
you
about
better
it.
be at bare minimum in a New Year's Six bowl, even though those don't matter anymore. But you better at least be there.
I think that's a ceiling, man.
And it kills me because I'm like Florida State's making more investments into sports than they ever have.
Yeah.
More than they ever have. And all right, coach, you went out there and had a good 2022 season. Then 2023, you had a great season. And then what? Like, how is it possible
Yeah.
to have two really good seasons and go to one of the worst seasons in Florida State history? How is that possible? Like, who took off the entire year and showed up today? And it's, Mike tells all of us constantly, watch. I wish people would quit talking and just let us do our job. Just stop getting into these kids' heads. Like, because what the media puts out, man, all these recruits look at it. They're all watching.
Of course.
They're like, oh, man, I better not go to Florida State and say Mike might not be there next year. Like, I'm not going to commit there.
Yeah, he's putting out fires right now.
Yep.
So when people say, well, why aren't you getting commitments? Because the first thing they ask is, what's your status?
Yep.
And he can't assure it right now.
Nope. That's why I think December, he's got an opportunity to flip a lot of guys.
Correct. December, mid-season even.
Yep, mid-season even.
Mid-season at the earliest, based on how we play. I've told myself, if we lose to Alabama, I don't care if it's by a lot or a little. I'm not taking moral victories.
Nope.
I would not give any coach in year 6 a moral victory.
Nope.
At Florida State.
Nope.
You're going to hear that. Oh, hey, it was close. We hung with them. Now, we could beat Alabama and still not have a great year.
No.
It's a weird game. It's a weird dynamic with this year.
What is Alabama this year? Real question.
Oh, they're good. They're going to be good.
I don't know.
I don't know how we cover Ryan Williams right now.
I think that you don't. I think here's the thing. You get to the quarterback because their offensive line's lacking. And it really is lacking.
I'm worried that they got Ryan Grubb back.
But the depth is hurt at tackle right now. They're okay. So at Alabama, their depth is lacked. They got a lot of youth. They got a lot of talented youth.
Great.
But I don't know, man. That Jenkins kid from Tennessee, Williams from Nebraska, then your linebackers you brought in. That kid from Memphis is going to be a real terror off the corner because he's really a stand-up edge. It's a different defense than we've seen. It's more about pressuring the quarterback than it is anything else. People don't realize that. If you're bringing speed off the corners or in gaps, you got 3 linemen.
Right.
That's to take the big men on, which there's usually 5, right? You usually got a center, 2 guards, blah. But you're not trying to do that. You're trying to out-athleticism someone, and they're going to do a lot of goofy – like Tony White's going to do his job. And
I like him.
I think Florida State's defense is going to keep us in games that we necessarily don't need to be in. Just being honest. Even if we're bad.
And you know what? Then that'll help the offense.
Hopefully.
Give them time to do what they have to do. Because you'll appreciate this. So Mike was talking about the new coaches, and you could see like a look in his eye, like he really likes these guys. It's not like it wasn't coach speak there, which he's known for, but not there. Because he said, you don't understand, Gus is near and dear to my heart. He gave me my starting coaching. So people were clapping for Gus, and then he goes, and then we got Tony White on defense. Nobody claps in the room. I hear that, and I'm like, this is wrong. I start clapping loud. Mike sees me, points me out, and goes, thank you. He deserves a clap.
Man, Tony is probably, outside of Papuchas, and people don't like hearing this either, but outside of Papuchas, the greatest football mind on that entire field to me, defensively, offensively, and special teams. I'm talking about all categories of the game. Tony White is the best mind on that staff, and that includes Gus. Gus is a great offensive mind, but there's a reason why he can't be a head coach.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it, guys. And I think Mike learning that if Mike would have done this before he came to Florida State and been a CEO type head coach and had a real offensive coordinator, and that would have been him coming into Florida State, we wouldn't have ran into these problems.
Mike is not really the play caller.
What's that?
Wasn't Dillingham essentially the play caller?
Man, Dillingham ain't calling no plays. Dillingham.
Really?
No,
I
man.
thought that's what Mike's offense, but Dillingham really.
No, Dillingham got a quarter every game. Okay. So
Okay.
Dillingham got a quarter every game to call plays. Usually
Gotcha.
that was the first quarter. Usually. Depending on who we were playing.
Right.
Now, I will say this: Dillingham was ahead of his time for sure. Like he still is. Dillingham is as young as he is, and he understands the game at a rate that is very surprising. I think Mike was testing too much, like over testing. I think you could have gave Dillingham the put it like this: if you'd have gave Dillingham the offensive coordinator position for real, I don't know that he would have left us early. I'm being dead honest with you, man.
Well, yeah, because that's why he left for Oregon.
When he thought JT, that's the only reason he went to Oregon, because he got the real opportunity. He got the real opportunity.
And his best friend, and he's from the West Coast.
But he got the opportunity to be a real OC and not under Mike's thumb. Mike was pressuring too hard and taking it away, taking it away. So when you do that, the guy's like, well, okay, look, this is how this coach is. I know Dan Lanning, he's not like that. He wants me to be a real OC. Let me go take this shot.
Yeah.
If Mike would have gave him that shot, he wouldn't have left, because Florida State would have paid him exactly what Oregon was offering, because they already was talking about it before they even knew he was possibly gone. And Mike's like, nope, I'm going to run the offense.
Right. And Dillingham gets to run his exact offense.
Yep.
I'm sure it's very similar to Mike, terminology, yada, yada. But it's still, when it's somebody else's offense, even if you're the play caller, there's still
it's boring.
It's not fun for them.
Nope. It's boring as hell. You're like, oh, yep, I've seen this play before. Like, it's not mine. Like, I didn't design this.
Right.
This is what I would do in this situation.
And they're so by detail that
egotistical.
No, yeah, that too. But I want you to go 2 feet more to the right, where you want 2 feet more to the left, and that is a difference that you'd be surprised they argue over. So yeah, I understood when he was leaving, and I said he wanted to go back out west anyway, where he's from.
Well, I can say this, man. Like, Dillingham really, really enjoyed Tallahassee. Yeah. I was around him so many times. And he, he made it very clear to a few of us one night that if he had control and it was his offense, he don't know how long he was going to stay. Like, it could be, but he's like, it's Mike's, man. Like, I'm not going to step on his toes.
Right.
Mike's giving me this opportunity, and somebody else is about to give me another one. He told us that night. 3 days later, he got the job offer at Oregon.
And didn't at Auburn too? He had the same deal, right?
He had a deal at Auburn. Alabama even offered him an opportunity, and then
but Auburn, he was the OC before he came to us.
Yep.
And he didn't get the call to plays there.
Nope. And Mike kept that same attitude with him, and that's why he was like, "Man, I thought I was coming to be the OC." And I'm not gonna say that Mike told him he was going to get it, like you were going to get the call, everything. I don't know, but he wasn't happy about
the cherry that he gave him to get him to leave Auburn.
It wasn't what he thought. So
yeah. No, but you see him on X. He's always talking highly of Florida State.
Yep. Always like, I'm glad to be a short stint of JT's success at Florida State. Like, all that stuff that he puts out. He took Biscuit to Arizona State, then guided him back to Florida State.
And Mike guided Malik McClain to him.
Yep.
I know he went to Penn State in between, but
Mike tried to get him to go to Oregon when he was there. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, of course, especially with the portal. That's another thing about spring ball.
Yep.
We don't need to put our guys on display. Because I was highly critical when they canceled the spring game. I was pissed.
Yep.
I will admit it. I finally, when I saw 8, 9, 10, 12 schools say we're not doing it either.
He was like, all right, hold on.
I said, all right, it makes sense. I understand we're in a situation where spring games help us out a lot. Because you don't have that many times to come to Tallahassee for that type of thing. You're off 2 and 10, a new coaching staff. You're trying to build enthusiasm. People come for the weekend, spend money. Where some of these schools don't need, that doesn't make a difference. Right. Texas is not going to move the needle if they have a game or not. Nebraska, all those schools. Us, it does. So that's why I was pissed, but it made sense in the end. And then I said, I'm going to be pissed if he cancels the spring game, but media still goes to practice. Because it's kind of hypocritical. And once he did that, I said, that's it. But I had heard, because one of them said, I wish we still had it, but then he said Mike should have given us a warning before this year. if you do this one more time, you're done. You don't have time for warnings, man, when you're on the hot seat.
Nope.
Especially when you gave away information before the ACC title game.
Well, see, that's like
Tate.
Yeah, it's like what I tell people. Like, I have no problems pointing out Mike's flaws, but I also have no problem giving Mike kudos.
Same here.
Like, Mike made a wrong decision with Dillingham. I think I covered that a second ago. But Mike made the perfect call with media. Mike made the perfect call with, like, Mike is the one that believed in JT.
Not me.
Mike said, this is the quarterback. Like, Dillingham, get him ready. Dillingham's like, all right.
Well, he did
I
bring
didn't
in
know what this kid was. Like, I didn't. And I gave him the tools. And, man, I thought he could be a Heisman winner, a national title. And he was this close, like, to both in 23. So they believed in him because Mike first believed in him. And that's what it took. It took Mike to believe in him. And Mike believes in Castellanos the same way. I'm going to let people know that now.
He came out today.
It ain't coaches speak. He thinks Castellanos is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country, period.
Yeah. He's gone on record now saying that. I thought it was Dillingham that was the first guy that really said, I think we got something here with this guy.
After he
I'm not trying to say you run there. I'm just saying. I remember he got mad at him the day he was catching passes.
Yeah, so this is how it went. So he brought the team in. These are the quarterbacks. These are the running backs. Blah blah blah. Jordan came to him after the meet, straight to his office. Said, "Hey, look, coach. I don't know if I should get moved to wide receiver or what, because I don't think I'm a quarterback material. I'm starting to accept that."
Mm-hmm.
And Mike's, I watched your film. You're a quarterback. We believe, as in me and Dillingham believe. Now, look, I don't know if Dillingham and him had that conversation or if Mike just put Dillingham on the spot.
Oh, okay.
I don't honestly know. But
because Mike
to me, it felt like he put him on the spot.
Yeah.
And then Dillingham comes in and is like, no, man, I got you. Like, let me coach you. Let me show you the tools. And the first practice that Jordan had with Dillingham comes out and says, hey, this kid, But they tried to give Scarecrow or whatever his name was, Black Slim, whatever. I don't know what his name was.
But James Blackman.
Yeah, they tried to give him his opportunity. Like he was the older guy. He earned the opportunity. But man, when he got hurt and he brought Jordan in, history, there's nothing else to talk about.
Right, I agree. But I admit, going into 2022, when we didn't take a portal quarterback, and that's when I said this will determine how long Mike is here.
Yep.
Because we loved Jordan after 2021, but we just
didn't know
his health. Because he's not a big guy. And I remember saying, ooh. And then the year before, you bring in McKenzie because I didn't think you believed in him as much. I mean, there was some pressure to bring him in, whatever reason.
There was this. Mike said that McKenzie Milton would be able to get that young quarterback room, the amount of leadership that it would need to know how to lead a team.
Right.
McKenzie Milton had this one thing about him, and I'll give it to him to this day. He could motivate the entire football team within like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It was something about the way that kid carried himself. It was something about the way he spoke.
He's the leader. And
everybody just was like, yeah, we got it. And I mean, he got Jordan. Jordan wasn't vocal his first 2 years, not at all. But after McKenzie came in, the next year, Jordan was McKenzie Milton 2.0 behind the scenes. Didn't do it in front of the media, but behind the scenes, it was all there. So Mike knew what he was doing, and I think that coaches do that a lot. Like, we see what we can see, we believe what we can believe.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, we only believe what we can see. The thing is Mike sees way more than we do. The rest of the coaches the same.
Yeah,
and they do stuff for. Like, if we knew why coaches brought in this guy or that coach, like, sometimes it's for the most small, ridiculous reason. Like, we would throw a fit if we knew why they really were here.
Right.
So we got to paint a picture of all this because of this, and it sounds better, and it fits the narrative, and Miami and Florida can't pick on us for it. That's really what it's about. It's the bragging rights from fans.
Oh, yeah.
And people would not believe the smallest reasons why this one guy's here. Like, I know Derek Ray's still here for a really small reason. I know that Tony Tokars is here for a small reason. I know why they're here. I just don't agree with it.
I'm with you there, and I'm not going to ask why. But we're in agreement about media. I'm not going to talk about the team this year. I love what you're saying.
Well,
Mike,
yeah, it's
that's
a
why
show
Mike
me.
makes it very clear when he says, I've been around football a long time. That goes to your point right there, where it's like, I know what to look for. I know what to see. I know how to win. I understand last year was unacceptable. He's not hiding from that. He hasn't made any excuses about last year.
Nope.
None of us are happy about this year. I have my doubts going into this year. I don't know if he's cut out for this anymore. I don't know if the snub broke him. We're going to find out this year. I'm going to support him either way. But man, he's been around football a while.
It's a show me year. The fan base needs to be shown. And Mike's like, let me show you. So we're going to try to show you. You want to be shown. Now everybody quit with the threats and the Hallmark articles and like, come on. Like, we know I haven't ran from last year, guys. We know this is unacceptable. This is not the standard of Florida State. I know this. He also was just luckily didn't get, well, I don't want to say luckily, it didn't get caught on the camera. He goes, do you think anybody, I don't know who he was talking to, but he was arguing with somebody. He's like, do you not know that I know I'm on the hot seat?
Oh, wow.
And I went, oh, I don't know what the hell's going on, but let me get down there. By the time I got there, it was over with. But Mike's not,
he's not
ignorant. He knows you can't do this again.
No, bringing in Gus is a big boy move. That's a, man, because listen, in a perfect world, he would have liked to bring in a little younger guy that he could groom, that he had a better pedigree with quarterbacks than Malzahn. But he had to go to DEFCON 5.
Yep.
And bring in Gus. I was always curious how they're going to work together, because it's like your mentor, the guy who gave you your job, is now working for you. How is that going to work? Is Gus going to listen to Mike? Is Gus going to say, all right, you're the boss? That's going to be a dynamic I really want to see unfold on game day. But if Gus is in the booth, I would imagine he's going to be in the booth calling plays. Mike gets to be a hands-on more on the field that he likes to do. I'm going to watch to see if he's more with the defense this year, Mike. Because Mike can motivate. And Mike knows ball. He told me something, man, years ago. Something I used to do, but like I thought I was the only one. I asked him, this was going into 2022 season. I asked him, this was a booster thing, but I asked him, listen, man, we know you're an offensive guy. You play wide receiver. That's your pedigree. But when you recruit defense, what do you look for? And he said, I'm going to give away something that I hope a Miami fan or Florida fan doesn't hear. He goes, if a guy makes a sack, if the whole team celebrates with him versus one guy or nobody, I noticed that. And then Tatum Bethune was in the room. He goes, that guy right there, I watched him in high school, how everybody rallied around him. I knew I wanted that in my locker room. Like you talked about with Jordan and certain guys. I like that stuff. Like, he gets it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to be humbled a little bit, a minor setback for a major comeback. But to do all that stuff, man, might as well support him. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to be critical in some ways, like recruiting and strength and conditioning. That's about it.
Show me. That's all I'm going to say.
It's a show me year.
Yep.
But Chris, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
Awesome talk, man. Thank you, man. Anytime, please. And send me the link, and I'm gonna promote it as well, man. On this channel, everywhere, man. I don't want to make a donation too.
All right.
It's a great thing you're doing with Kevin Sperry. I love it. Anything you want to add on the way out? Anything you want to plug?
So a lot of people, you haven't been seeing me on YouTube and doing the show a lot. I've been focused on Discord. It's also, like I said, where I've raised the most money for NIL deals and stuff of that nature. It's not that YouTube doesn't raise any money. That has nothing to do with that, but we get busy. And I have to pay attention to my Discord. We have a space every week. So it's like, I don't know if you're on Discord, you literally click on your mic and you're in a space with me Monday night at 8 or 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm telling you everything, not what I'm even telling you on here. Like, I'm telling you everything.
That's why I was clear saying I'm not asking you for inside stuff.
Become an Ultimate Chief And if you want to know what's going on in Florida State in and out, and I mean upside down, all around, like you got too many people you can contact to find out if I'm lying. Like it's not. You can ask everybody that's in the Ultimate Chief, like, have I told you one thing that has not came to fruition?
Yeah.
Did I not tell you this weeks or months ago? It is simple. Like all you got to do is be part of it. It costs $10 to start. I have 7 lifetime members now. What that means is they don't have to pay again. They're never going to have to pay again. So try it. And once you try it for 1 month, I have yet to have a person last 2 days without going ahead and buying a year or 6 months or whatever. It just doesn't happen. They go and see all the information because you can go see everything that I put.
Oh, so if you miss a space one night,
Yep,
you can
it's
see
recorded.
a recap.
Yep.
Okay, that's great.
Yep. So everything that I've got, it's still there. You can go listen to it. You can be a brand new member today and see everything I did a year ago.
Oh, nice. So you can see like the show notes.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So $10 a month, that's what it costs. And 80%, well, I'm trying to get to 80%. 50% of what Spearatics makes goes to Florida State athletes.
Nice.
Whether that's through the athletic department or that's through NIL deals like I'm trying to do for Sperry. I'm not in it to make money off of it. I need the other 50% to keep things going, running.
Yeah.
It's not, believe it or not, it's not as simple as turn on a mic, I got to travel. I have a job. I don't get paid to go to Florida State and watch practices. Unless you guys are on my Discord or what have it. And that's what money I used to go do so. So I have 3 girls. They come first, but this allows me to go to practices. It allows me to tell you what I can tell you about Florida State. So appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm definitely going to sign up for it, man. Long overdue. But thank you so much for your time tonight. This has been awesome. Hope to have you on again. And keep up the great work, man.
Appreciate you. Go Noles.
Thank you, man. Go Noles, man.